I'm coming to you from Brooklyn, New York. My name is Daniel Mate. I have a very interesting experience here because I'm watching you watching me. My camera is in a little laptop on the left side of the stage. If you want to look over at me for a second and wave, that's me over here. But hello. Um, so it's fun to watch you observing. So I guess I'm here to speak briefly about the book, The Myth of Normal. I'm not sure how to say it in Montenegrin. I apologize. And thank you to Nina for whatever she just said, which I didn't get to hear because it was muted, but I'm sure it was wonderful. Um, and The Myth of Normal is the book that I co-wrote with my father, Gabor Mate, who you might be familiar with. And it's the book I'll be speaking about in Tivat a month from today, actually. Is when this 2-day event starts. And The Myth of Normal has been published in close to 40 countries now. And it really seems to have struck a chord in a lot of different cultures, which is exciting. We wrote it very much focusing on American, Canadian, and UK culture. But with the understanding that the observations the book makes are becoming more and more relevant all over the world as American culture gets globalized. And it is a book about culture. The subtitle of the book is Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture. So that's a lot. That's a mouthful. Maybe I'll just sort of break down why all those words are in there and what we're pointing to. So first of all, the myth of normal. What does it mean to say that normal is a myth? Well, first of all, we have to define what we mean by normal. There are several uses of the word normal, at least in English, and some of them are very legitimate and helpful and clarifying. So for instance, in the medical profession, and I should say outright that I'm not a doctor and I'm not a trained therapist. I have my own modality for helping people, which is my own invention called mental chiropractic, which I will be presenting about at the event in Montenegro next month, but that's a different conversation. But in the medical world, normal indicates a certain range of measurements inside which human life and health are possible. So for instance, if your temperature is normal, that means that it's between a certain minimum number of degrees Celsius and a certain maximum number of degrees Celsius. I'm from Canada, but I've been living in the States so long that I forget the Celsius measurements. But it's in the high 90s Fahrenheit. If you're below it, that's not normal. If you're above it, that's not normal. If you're way below it, you're going to die. And if you're way above it, you're going to die. So normal is actually a rather limited but very useful range of things to know. Similarly with blood oxygen levels, pH levels, red blood cell counts, white blood cell counts. It's what allows us to know if someone is within the nature-given limitations and constraints of what makes human life possible. So on that objective, mathematical, measurable level, very useful. It's also useful to know if something's normal if you want to calm someone down, if they're having a symptom or something. If a woman, let's say a woman is pregnant and she didn't know about morning sickness, and she wakes up with nausea and vomiting or whatever, well, you could say to her, actually, honey, that's normal. If you're her husband, you'd call her honey. But don't worry. It's not, you're not dying. It's fine. It's normal, which is to say it happens to most people under these conditions. So these are useful and relatively neutral uses of the word normal. But the really insidious, which is to say, invisibly dangerous way that normal functions in our society is the normal we can't see. The normal we can't talk about because it's so normal that it's just invisible. So in the book, we quote the late great American novelist David Foster Wallace, who gave a commencement speech once at a college, where he told a story of two young fish swimming along, just minding their own business in the water one day, and they pass by an older fish who says to them, "Good morning, boys. How's the water?" And they swim on for a bit, and then one of the young fish turns to the other and says, "What the hell is water?" They don't know what he's talking about, because to them, it's just that's just their environment. They don't know what water is. And there are a lot of things that are so normal in our, well, in any culture. Things are just taken to be normal. You get used to it, you don't question it, unless you get a view from the outside that says, oh, actually, it doesn't necessarily have to be this way. There are other ways of living. Well, one of the least healthy assumptions we make, one of the most dangerous assumptions that we make in our world, is that if something is normal, it must also be natural. If it's happening to everyone, or if it's everywhere, then therefore it's supposed to be happening.